After the divorce, I just needed to get away. Away from the house. Away from the constant questions from friends and family. Away from everything. Enchanted Rock seemed like the perfect place to clear my head. It was quiet, peaceful, and the kind of solitude I craved. I'd heard the stories about the place, how it got its name from local legends, but I didn't believe in any of that. It was just a rock, and I was just here to forget about my life for a few days. I pulled into the park just before sunset, the last rays of light casting a warm glow over the massive dome of pink granite. The sky was wide open, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I set up my tent at the base of the rock, cracked open a beer, and watched as the sky darkened from orange to deep purple. This was what I needed. Just me, the stars, and nothing else. As night fell, the temperature dropped. The campfire I built flickered softly in the cool breeze, its warmth comforting against the chilly air. I stared into the flames, trying to lose myself in their dance. But no matter how hard I tried, my mind kept drifting back to her, to what went wrong. I sighed, tossed another log on the fire, and leaned back in my chair. That's when I heard it. A soft rustling, like footsteps in the brush behind me. I turned my head, shining my flashlight into the darkness. Nothing. Probably just a rabbit or something. But then I heard it again, closer this time. A slow, deliberate crunch of leaves underfoot, like someone was walking around, just outside the reach of my firelight. My chest tightened. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding smaller than I'd intended. "Nothing." I told myself it was just the wind, maybe an animal. After all, this was Enchanted Rock, a place families visited on weekends. No crazy horror stories, no strange disappearances, just a popular camping spot in Texas. There was nothing out here to be scared of. But the footsteps didn't stop. They continued, slow and steady, circling the campsite. I stood up, gripping the flashlight tighter, as I swept the beam across the trees again. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of fear and frustration building. "Is someone out there?" I shouted. No response. I was on edge now, every small sound making my pulse race. It didn't feel right. The air had changed, growing colder, heavier, like the very atmosphere was pressing down on me. I tried to laugh it off, tried to remind myself that there was no reason to be scared. I was alone. But the footsteps, they kept coming, closer and closer. I stepped away from the fire, aiming the flashlight toward the trees, and then I saw it, a figure standing just outside the circle of light. My heart stopped. It was tall, too tall to be anyone I'd seen hiking earlier. Its body seemed to blend with the shadows, like it wasn't really there at all, just a part of the darkness itself. I couldn't make out its face, only the outline of a person, if it was a person. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breathing. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice cracking with fear. "What do you want?" It didn't answer. It didn't move. Just stood there, watching, waiting. I took a step back, nearly tripping over the fire pit. My mind raced. I should have been running, should have grabbed my keys and gotten out of there, but my legs felt like they were stuck in place. Then, slowly, the figure took a step forward. Just one. I froze. My mouth went dry. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The fire crackled behind me, the only thing breaking the suffocating silence between us. The figure moved again, its body seeming to ripple as it stepped closer, like it wasn't fully solid. My chest tightened as I realized I couldn't look away. It felt like whatever this thing was, it was pulling me in, dragging me deeper into the dark. I forced myself to move, stumbling back toward the tent. My hands shook as I grabbed my keys, my flashlight flickering wildly in every direction. When I glanced back toward the trees, the figure was gone. But the footsteps, they were still there, circling the camp, louder now, faster, as if it was running just out of sight. I didn't wait any longer. I jumped in my car, threw it into reverse, and sped out of the park without looking back. Even as I drove away, the footsteps echoed in my ears, haunting me, as if whatever had been watching me out there wasn't ready to let me go. Enchanted Rock might not have any stories of horror, but that night, it sure felt like it did. And I'll never forget the sound of those footsteps in the dark,